Well guys, I'm heading in to do a little check on my plot, pull out my old blind, see if it survived any of the wind and the snow that we've gotten, see if it'll make it another year or not. So stay tuned, and I'm going to give you your next round of what I think is an important part and an important aspect of hunting, and see if I can do a little cleanup here after season, and see if I got any pictures on my camera. So stay tuned, guys. Alright guys, it's been about a week or so since season let out. It's getting to be about January 29th, and season got over on the 15th. So what I'm doing is I'm coming in here and I'm trying to do a little frost seeding today eventually, and then I'm going to just do some cleanup. I'm going to pull the pads out of my stand, any extra straps that I don't want to leave up in there, and then see how my mineral block's doing, pull my camera, just a few things like that. So I can kind of get things cleaned up and ready for later in the season. So I'm going to have you guys come along with me on that, trying to get an idea of some soil samples. I've got some cheaper soil testing kits, and I know that they're not high dollar, I know that. So I'm going to try to take some tests, and then possibly this spring go back in and maybe send off to a Whitetail Institute or pull one from my co-op, just to see if there's anything close to what I'm getting on my tests. That way I can come in here and do a little lime this spring, maybe a little bit of fertilizer. I don't want to spend a lot of money on fertilizer if I don't have the pH right. But I'm going to take you guys for a quick swing around the food plot here, and show you some pictures and show you some things that it looks like. But right now it's still pretty bare. Obviously it's January, and so not a lot of growth in here. And I'm going to frost seed in about 3 pounds of clover today, and hopefully start seeing some of that this spring. So I'll have you stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to do a little looking around, and come back and have a little chat here in just a minute on what I think the next important part of hunting is. So just to give you a quick rundown here of the plot, you can see behind me it's not super large. I've talked about that multiple times. After losing access to the plot that I have done several videos on that you guys can watch on my channel, this is a family farm. This is a small little quad trail hub that's in the middle of the woods, and I've actually been parking up at the top of the hill walking in, and the more I'm walking this trail, the more I'm realizing I'm pretty sure that's where the deer travel. In fact, I think they travel from over here at my mineral lick all the way up and through and towards that parking lot that I've been parking in. So I'm really going to have to rethink. We did not see much in this plot this year, although on camera I saw several. So I think number one is how we've been accessing this. I'm really going to have to look at access differently. We may have to walk a little farther, or we may have to access differently than what I was expecting. The second thing is, I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm going to kind of go over here. We've got our deer stand right there, and as you can tell, it's fairly open. And so once the leaves kind of fell off, that really wasn't as hidden as I thought it was going to be. So I think I'm actually going to move it right there to that tree. There's a nice cedar tree in front of it. There's limbs and stuff to break up our outline. There, it's actually a little closer to the plot than I was expecting. It's kind of why I put it back there. But there's not any really good big trees back there to keep us hidden. So a couple little things here in the plot that I've obviously been able to kind of pick up and see that I want to do differently. And then of course, just trying to come in here and get some of this brush, briars and stuff out. So I took a couple pictures that I'm going to post here for you guys as I'm talking. But there's a lot of little scrubby trees in this area still. There's several larger trees, a couple elms, a couple oak trees and different things like that that are still growing in this area. And I'm not going to take the bigger trees at all, but anything that's about 2 to 3 inches around, I am probably going to cut out of here, or I would eventually like to cut out of here, especially the cedar trees. And so I got a little work to do. Obviously, I'm not going to have it all done in just, one weekend. In fact, I spent several weekends out here last year, right at the end of season, and kind of got this cleared open quite a bit more than what it was, and put out my mineral lick and all that stuff, and saw some pretty good deer move through here. I had a couple of decent bucks that were in this area, and actually ended up having one under my stand completely across on the other side of the farm right before rut was really hitting, like at the early part of rut, and just couldn't get a shot. So there are some good deer on this farm, and I want to get this plot up into shape. And I came in and frost seeded some clover last week, end of January, and gave you guys a little bit of information of what I'm doing in the plot. Showed you some of that. So today I'm going to continue that work. I'm going to be doing some trimming. And as I do so, you're going to be watching some clips of me pulling some of these trees out, opening up this property a little bit, trying to get some of the leaf litter off of the plot a little bit so that those clover seeds can get down to the ground a little bit better. Eventually, my goal is to come in and actually till this spot. I pulled a over-the-counter soil test and got a reading of about 7.0 on 2 different types of tests. So although I don't say that they're probably the most accurate, I would say it's at least somewhat close. It's maybe a little high. So I might actually be looking at putting a little aluminum sulfate on this plot this summer when I go to till. But I picked up a bag of Game Plot as well as some other brands from Walmart and a couple of other places that were on sale. And so I know that I'm going to have to get a good soil to seed contact in order for them to grow. So what I'm hoping that over these next couple of cool months before the weeds and poison ivy get thick in here, I'm going to come in and get these trees behind me cleared out. And as I do so, opening up this plot a little bit more. As I'm out here working, I just wanted to kind of hit on a couple of things in regards to the next topic or the next thing that I think hunters need to think about and consider. I'm getting ready to go down and do some cleanup on my hunting spots for the year. I'm going to get my blind picked up. I'm going to get my chairs and stuff out of the way. And I'm going to, as I do this, just kind of watch and look for some things that I might be able to do better next year. And so as I'm doing this, I apologize if I have to push through or crunch through some brush here. But as I do this, I just wanted to share with you guys kind of my next thought when it comes to what does it mean about this ethics of hunting, or what does it mean when we say something along the lines of ethical hunting or the ethics of hunting. And as I've told you, these first couple of videos, there's some things that I think are important, like why do you go hunting, or what are the reasons for you to go hunting. The other things that I want to talk about are everything from kind of some questions for you to consider. The other things would be things that all hunters should be considering. And today, I think one of the things that I want to talk about is this. When you're hunting, we've talked about why, what's your why? What are you going to hunt? So deer, squirrels, raccoons, whatever. We understand those things. I think the other question that you guys are going to have to understand is the understanding of where. Are you going to take on public land hunting? Are you going to take on private land hunting? Do you have your own land that you hunt? And the reason I say that this is a moral question or an ethical question isn't necessarily because of the property that you're going to hunt. It's more along the lines of how you're going to hunt. There are some people out there that love hunting, and they love hunting public land or private land. They love getting out and walking miles at a time. They love the outdoors. And as you can see behind me, this is a beautiful place. I'm actually walking right now towards my blind. And as I'm walking, I can see a pretty decent trail that I'm probably going to mark on my map, because it looks like the fence is lower in this spot and the deer are probably just walking right under it. I don't know if you can really see it back there, but right down through here, kind of right that way, is a pretty noticeable difference in the leaves. And then as I look ahead of me, I see a fence that's 4 foot off the ground as opposed to the 2 foot off the ground or the 1.5 foot off the ground that it is the rest of the time. So this is obviously a place that deer are going to enter the woods. And so by walking around this property, I'm able to do this and do some scouting. But as I'm doing it, this is a private piece of property. This is a friend of ours that gave me permission to hunt a family farm. They have 3 80-acre sections in the family, and I have permission to hunt them most of the time. There are some rifle season times that I'm not able to hunt everything, but during bow season I've had opportunities to come in here kind of whenever, because they want me to help control the deer population in this area. They're farmers, they're cattle farmers, they're hay farmers, and so for them, having a large population of deer, which it's nothing to walk past some of these fields in the evening and see 8, 10, 12, 14 deer sitting out here, and sometimes more. And so as a personal opportunity for me and for this family to get some help as well, I get to go hunting here. But as I do so, I'm going to get back to my topic, and that is this: where are you going to go hunting? And the reason I say that, and I'm going to wrap up quickly, I don't want to spend a lot of time on these topics, but the reason I say it's important and something that you need to consider is because if I'm hunting on private property, there's a lot of things that I need to consider. Obviously, the owner. I need to be respectful of the owner. I need to be respectful of their property. I need to be respectful of their equipment. I need to be mindful of the things that I'm doing while I'm out here. I don't need to just act in a irresponsible manner. I need to ask permission for things like this food plot that I've been doing. I've asked them, are you okay with me cutting these trees out? Are you okay with me opening up that section for some deer food? And they said no, because ultimately they're not going to run cows up there. The cows don't go up there. So again, it's important for us to understand where we're hunting and why. If you're hunting public land, there's a different set of responsibilities. There's a different set of issues that you need to consider. I am not a big public land hunter. I do some, but you have to consider things like being respectful of other hunters that are in the area. If you have gone to an area that you wanted to go to, maybe you've even scouted it out, and you get in there, you see cameras and you see stands and you see other things, you have to take on that responsibility of, even if you wanted to hunt that spot, even if you're the first one there, is there a sense of responsibility or respect for the other hunters to say, look, these people were here first and set up first, I'm going to respect that. Guys, I'm going to swing the camera around here. Speaking of, there's a bunch of deer right here in the field. So I told you there's things everywhere out here, but I'm going to continue my thought of when you're on the public property and being respectful of those around you, being respectful of what the public property brings. So being aware of the rules, being aware of the regulations, being aware of what other hunters might be out there, being aware of the dangers and the shooting angles that you're going to be going at if you're rifle hunting. There's a lot of things that when you're going onto these properties that you need to consider. And really, to be honest with you, to give you a quick rundown of what I think those are, whether you're on public or private, you need to be considering following all regulations and rules. As a personal hunter, I don't always agree with everything that we see at the Conservation Department, but I buy my tags, I follow the regulations and rules to the best of my abilities, and I seek to stay within that confines of staying legal as a hunter. If I'm on private property, I want to take into consideration respecting the landowner, respecting the land, and doing what I have been given permission to do and staying within that bounds and not causing problems. Sharing the harvest with them if they would like, and so on. If I'm on public land, again, being respectful of other hunters, being mindful of safety, which we're going to have a whole video on that. But just an idea of what my topic for today is this. Where do you want to hunt? And if you have your own property, private property, or public property, I think you need to take into consideration those things we just talked about. Being respectful of the property and the people, being safe in the areas that you hunt, and being within legal bounds no matter what you do in the hunting seasons. So I hope that means something to you guys. And like I said before, put comments down below on things that you'd like to hear. But I'm going to wrap up here in just a little bit with a walk around my plot. You'll be able to see that in my videos, and hopefully some pictures of deer from my camera, and obviously the ones you just saw across the field from me. So I'm going to break down this thing here and see what happens.